My name is Greg Beckley, and I'm one of the people that brought Chenho to town for this trip. I met him about 12 years ago, and he talked a little bit about liberation theology, and it had a profound impact in my life. And then shortly after meeting him, I would have a severe psychotic break, and because of that, was subjected to severe human rights abuses. I decided to create an organization called the Western Montana Empowerment Project in order to protect the human rights and enhance the quality of life of people with mental illness. And it was partly liberation theology that I learned from Chenho that taught me this, particularly the idea of trying to create structures or systems within the society that buffer the atomized individual from the repressive state. And for many people with mental illness, the state is truly oppressive. I've sort of kept in touch during the years, and this time we wanted to get him up here, partly so he could meet more people in the environmental community, partly so that we could work on some practical plans to develop mental health care systems in El Salvador. I don't know if there's much more for me to say. Why don't I keep this introduction relatively short and have him go next, and right away.
About 3 months ago, I received a telephone call from Greg. He was inviting me to come to Missoula, Montana. I have been here maybe 6 times. And certainly for me it was a real pleasure to be invited, and especially to be invited by Greg. Then he was calling many times, telling us what was happening here, how he was organizing this tour, and I am really happy to be able to talk to you due to his work. I have an assistant director in Texas where I have my office, and I have been more in El Salvador than this year due to the 3 earthquakes that hit my country. So Sean has been calling me every time that you have been leaving messages for me. Before yesterday, we had in El Salvador, visiting one of our projects, a woman who is very famous in this country. She was the president of the International Red Cross. There was a time that she wanted to become president of this country, but she was competing against the son of a president, of a former president, so she didn't win. She came to visit one of our projects, and that is the Round Houses Project. Her name is Elizabeth Dole. So before yesterday, I was with her in El Salvador, and there was a peasant woman, a campesino woman.
Foundation for Self-Sufficiency. Okay. I might get one of the shirts too. But it was yeah.
They're downstairs.
This is something, this committee of 86 communities is something that was started by campesinos, by themselves. In 1995, there was a big flooding. 10,000 people moved from their homes to higher lands. They lost their crops, they lost their animals, and after the flooding, 7 of them came together and they started discussing why they had these floodings and how they could prevent disasters. They started presenting ideas about how to become organized. That was 1995, the month of October. And they decided that, well, what we need is to go back to our communities, talk to people, have a meeting in each community, and propose the idea of forming a group that will be in charge of preventing disasters. In 1996, in the month of January, I was with them, and instead of having 7 people, there were about 200 people from 42 communities, only 2 months later. And they started their organization called the Coordinating Committee of the Lower Lempa River and the Bay of Liquilisco. That same year, they started discussing the need to have more goals, to include more goals to the organization. Prevention of disasters is not enough. There is the need to produce, there is the need to take care of the environment, there is the need to plant trees, to reforest the land so there are no floodings, etc. So they included in their objectives a new one, and that was sustainable economic development. El Salvador was in war for 12 years. Certainly in my country, not only during the war, but before that, we have had the culture of violence. And it continues, that culture of violence. So, in some of the meetings, we started discussing why there is violence in these communities and how we can stop violence. And we started a new project, and that was inspired by them, and it is the Local Zone of Peace project. Zone is C-O-N-E. I have a problem to pronounce that word, Zone of Peace. The Local Zone of Peace. And for us, the Local Zone of Peace means education in human rights and obligations. Not only the human rights, but also the obligations that we have to us in society. Second, the management of conflicts and mediation. Third, the local participation in politics, in economics, in social issues. And fourth, the production and environment. I have been giving the workshops about the Local Zone of Peace, more than 40 workshops. We have had about 60 workshops about human rights and obligations. And what is important is that through these workshops, what the people are learning is principles and values that are necessary for life. Maybe some of you have heard about liberation theology. Well, Greg was speaking about liberation theology a minute ago. And liberation theology has a methodology that was developed in Latin America during the 70s and 80s. It has a methodology that really works. First of all, with liberation theology, you do the analysis about the reality, the structural reality that you have in a given country. Suppose that we are here in the States, and we are trying to understand what is the reality that you have, and you ask your question, the question, if that reality permits freedom, or that reality is destructive for society and for every living creature. Suppose we try to analyze the structure of production of arms. You will see that how many brains of this country and other countries are working to produce arms and new arms that are every day more destructive. And then you ask yourself, well, God created all these brains and these sources or materials to destroy life, destroy the earth, destroy everything. It means this structure by itself in liberation theology is a sin. It doesn't matter if you praise Jesus Christ and you are clapping and say hallelujah, hallelujah, God bless you and all these things, you know, that is well, you need to say something. But that is a sin. Because God didn't create all these beautiful creatures that exist in the world and our brains, you know, for destruction. So that is a structure that by itself creates oppression, creates injustices. Instead of having those means, you know, for other purposes in life. Then you go to the Bible. And you ask yourself, what is in the Bible about life? What is it in the Bible about all creatures created by God? And then the third step is what to do. What we are supposed to do. So, in the work that we are doing, that these communities are doing, we try to follow that methodology. We try to understand, well, what is the situation in this community? The economic, the social, the conflicted situation in this community. What is in the Bible? What we are supposed to do. And we do not use only the Bible. Of course, there is a lot of inspiration in the Bible. But also, we need to go to social sciences. And we need to go to all the means that we human beings we have, you know, in order to become better organized, to have more respect, to grow. So in this course, something that else that we are trying to develop in this project, something that we are trying to develop is this peace between us. Well, I can give you examples about the results of this way of thinking, and also results of having new principles, new values. We had Hurricane Mitch. In the region where we are working, south of Sulutan, near the River Lempa and the Bay of Iquilisco, there are 35,000 people living over there. For Hurricane Mitch, we need to move 24,000 people that would die if they would remain in their communities. No one died. And the only reason is they are organized. For the earthquakes that hit January 13, February 13, and February 19, no one died. And we lost in that region 857 homes and more than 2,000 homes that were partially destroyed. Why that? Once again, it is because they are organized. One day I was giving a workshop, and it was about production environment in one of the communities. There were people from different communities that came for the workshop. Early in the morning, before breakfast, I went to the beach to see what was the condition of that beach. And I started seeing, you know, the plastic bags, animals who were dead, screaming. It was terrible to look to everything that was there. All shoes, everything that you can imagine. So we had breakfast, and I said to them, before we start having our meetings by groups, and we start discussing what is the situation of the environment, etc., it would be better if you go to the beach and you see what do you have. You have half an hour to do that. And they went for half an hour. And please try to look to everything in detail. And after you come and you present that in your groups. Then we had our assembly, general assembly. They were presenting what was there in their beach. And then in the afternoon, we were reading the Bible, those chapters that have to do with the environment. And I left. I came back to the States. I went back to El Salvador, and I received a telephone call from this place, Isla Mendes. They said, please come to visit us. And I said to the person who was calling me, I do not have time to go. I am really busy here. They said, you must come. And I said, something special must be, they must have something special, so I will go to visit them. So I decided to go. The beach was completely clean. And I asked them what happened. And they said, well, we learned that to have a beach, that is like a trap. It's a sin. We cannot permit that. So we became organized, and that's what we have now. It was absolutely clean. You learn. You need to go to learn principles, you need to learn values. But first of all, you need to become organized. That is something absolutely essential. Organized for everything, and principles and values for everything. Our people over there, they have been accustomed, that is the tradition, to cultivate corn and beans. But with corn and beans, certainly you produce the food that you need for yourself, for your family. Maybe you produce that, but nothing else. You cannot have an income. You cannot buy shoes. You cannot repair your house. So you live in misery, not in poverty. You live in misery. So the agronomists that we have, that have been hired by them, I say we have because I feel that I am part of them, have started teaching them about how to cultivate the land organically. That is very important because there is no destruction of the soil. Second, how to irrigate the land and how to diversify the production. We have at the present time about 800 acres of land that are cultivated with irrigation. The production is diversified, and the land is cultivated organically. The families have learned that, and what we do is try to finance, their projects, and try to pay, to give them the technical assistance required. That means to pay the agronomists so they work with them. Well, if you have an acre of land, and you cultivate that acre of land with beans and rice, suppose you produce $100. If you cultivate that land organically and with irrigation, and if you put different crops, not the same one, but different crops, papayas and vegetables, and passion fruit, and dwarf coconuts and dwarf plantain, etc. 12 different products, you produce in the same place $500. You make more money, and what you are producing, it's better for health, because the diet is more diversified. They have more things to eat. So certainly we see the results of that. And I could tell you other stories, about what they are doing because they are organized. Well, one more about politics. We are trying to develop democracy in El Salvador. It is not easy because for years and years and years we were under the military rule for 52 years. From 1932 to practically to 1990. We were under military rule. And also because the oligarchy of El Salvador, well, they do not want to see a democracy. What they want is to see a country that is run by them, and the army is like their police, protecting them. So for us, after the signature of the peace accords in 1992, the goal to educate people in democracy is something that is very, very, very important. Last year, we had elections for mayors and deputies. And in Jiquilisco, that is one of the municipalities where we have these communities that are organized, there was a mayor that belonged to the FMLN political party. The FMLN were the guerrillas that were fighting against the Salvadorian army and against the US advisors that were sent by Reagan and by Bush to El Salvador. And we think, well, if this guy is from the FMLN, he must be favoring more democracy. But that doesn't happen always, you know. That because you belong to the left, you are favoring democracy. So this guy, the mayor of Jiquilisco, was supporting some of the communities and the rest, nothing. And he was very tough with some of the communities and very easygoing with those, you know, that he was in favor. The campesinos were mad about that. So in November, in 1999, they had meetings in every community, and they said, well, we need to stop this mayor, and we need to elect another one that belongs to the same political party, to the FMLN. There were 3 candidates of the FMLN. And they went, you know, the coordinating committee went to meet each of these candidates and ask, well, what is your platform? What do you want to do in the municipality of Jiquilisco? And once they had this meeting, they decided we will support David. What is his family name? David, I don't remember his family name, but his name is David. We will support him. Last March, not last March, March year 2000, they came to vote. And David won 3-1. The candidate of the PCN, that is one of the political parties, that was paying to people 75 colones for vote, that was 75 colones, about $8 for each vote. And people were receiving the money, you know. He's a rich guy. And then the one from the Arena party that was paying 1 colones, that is about $12, they lost. And the one from the PCN, he started drinking, and after a month, he was in the coffin. He died. That was absolutely stupid, you know, because he lost. He started drinking and he died because he was drinking. Well, of alcohol, yeah, he died. David, sometimes he is not doing so well, the mayor. So the other day, I heard from the campesinos that they had a meeting with him and they told him sit down, and also the council, how you say council people, you know, men and women, and they said, well, we, the campesinos, we do the analysis about the reality that we have in our communities. Then we look for alternatives for the development of our communities or to resolve problems in our communities, but we do not see that you have a plan. So we demand from you to develop a plan to run the municipality. And if you need our technical assistance, and if you need the technical assistance of our professionals, the professionals that are working with us, our technicians, we can support you. We can give you that technical assistance. But you cannot run the municipality without a plan. And that is something very important too. You need to be organized, but at the same time you need to develop a plan, and the only way to develop a plan is if you do the analysis about your reality. You cannot start, like when you go to the river and you start trying to catch the fish like this, you are tired and then you go. No, that's not the way. You need to plan what you are doing. And only if you have a plan, you know the resources that you have, you know the alternatives that you have been able to prioritize what is first and what is second, then you can do something. Certainly, this coordinating committee or this association of 86 communities is a model for us. I have been working for campesinos for about 35 years. And I think that this is the best organization with which I have been working, that I have been assisting. We bring delegations to El Salvador. Last March, we had 3 delegations of students from 7 universities of this country, all Jewish people. They came to work with the campesinos, and something that they admire and they were attracted, is by the way the people are organized. People are organized. For the earthquake, January 13, I was in El Salvador. I was in Ciudad Romero. That is one of the villages, the village that is in the center of these 86 communities. They have their offices, these communities, they have their general office in Ciudad Romero. And immediately after the earthquake, and that was terrible, I tell you that I saw the tiles of the office, flying like bullets. We couldn't stand up. It was hard. I was very tied, to the frame of the door, and it was hard. It was very hard. I thought that would be my last day of life, There were 25 campesinos, 4 people from here, and 4 people from Habitat for Humanity. And as soon as the earthquake ended, Jorge Villatoro, who is the general coordinator of these communities and who is in charge of prevention of disasters, he has been in many meetings in Cuba, in Dominican Republic, in Oslo, learning about prevention of disasters in Nicaragua, etc. 10 minutes later, he ran to his old car. He has a Toyota, 1978 Toyota. It runs. Yeah, that is a car that someone gave it to me in Seattle, and I drove it to El Salvador. And he has that car, an old one, but it works. And he started visiting the homes of every people and going to different communities. 2 hours later, we came to La Papalota, that is another community. We came to visit Juan. He was not in his house. His house was, at that moment, was okay. He was visiting people who suffered the destruction. At 6 o'clock, the earthquake hit El Salvador at 8:30. At 6 o'clock in the afternoon, we had the first report. Before the government, before any other organization, we had the first report. When Juan came back to his house, it was done. The house was done because there were more tremors. We have got more than 8,000 tremors. That is not easy. People are afraid, people are nervous, people do not know about their future. The rain started, and we are expecting flooding. It is not easy. But I tell you, if you are organized, you can go ahead. Otherwise, it is impossible. It is impossible. From the earthquake, we have lost 350,000 homes. At this moment, there are in El Salvador 1.5 million people homeless. It took 46 seconds to put 1.5 million people homeless. And El Salvador is a small country. It has only 6 million people. So 20% of the population, or 25% of the population do not have a house. Think about that. That is not easy to imagine. And your government provided at the beginning $10 million. $10 million is nothing. The president of El Salvador came to talk to Bush, and he promised to give $55 million more for this year and $55 million more for the coming year. Yeah, there is the idea in the world that the United States is the most generous country, and that is absolutely false. Absolutely false. Yeah, this is not a generous country. Generous countries, Ireland, for example, the Scandinavian countries, those yes. But the rest of the world, they are not. They are not. Well,
We talked about last night, if you could blame the earthquake on the communists, you would have gotten more.
oh yeah, yeah. It would be the most, Marx, the monster, you know, producing that earthquake, they would have maybe $1 billion in one day.
The money that is coming into the country, is it trickling down to the grassroots federations? Because I know in other places, like, I just came from the Dominican Republic, and I was kind of following the progress of a group very similar to the one you're describing. And after Hurricane Georges, a lot of money did come into this watershed, and it sort of trickles down to these grassroots federations, but not the way it should. I just wondered if that was the case there.
Yeah. Well, in El Salvador, immediately after the earthquake, the private enterprise declared that they would become, a group of them would become the body that will distribute all the funds and the goods that would come to El Salvador. They had a press conference, and immediately they were approved by the government. And they named themselves the Solidarity, I do not remember the title. So they start receiving everything, all the goods that were coming, and also funds. Not those funds that come through non-governmental organizations. Those funds went directly to non-governmental organizations. But funds coming from governments, from the Red Cross, and from other agencies, that went directly to the government. For example, the Presbyterian Church of Stillwater, Minnesota, gave us the 25 homes, the round houses, 25. And we wanted to bring the trailer, loaded, you know, directly to the community where we would build the homes. The government didn't let us. We went to the center office that they had, and that was declared as a donation to the government, and the government was donating to us the homes, you know, that the Presbyterian were giving to us. Yeah. So, at the beginning, what they wanted was to support their municipalities. The municipalities where they have elected mayors of the Arena party. And immediately, the FMLN people started, you know, making statements against that. Also, some religious people started declaring against what the government was doing, the centralization of everything. And they start providing some resources, materials, and money to almost every municipality. We know that there were planes that were landing in El Salvador. For example, planes that were landing with engine to produce energy. And there were people from the private enterprise who were running this thing, and they were saying, well, this over there, and the other one over there. So taking what they want for themselves. And that is, we know that. First of all, the people that were hired to have the control of all this goods were people from the Arena Party, not from another political party. So, the same people. Every time you know that is a problem like that, there is a lot of corruption. I know that some of the NGOs are trying to do the best that they can. And really, they are using the funds for the purposes that they have. My foundation, the Foundation for Self-Sufficiency, I am the president of this foundation. Every penny that has come to us, we have sent it directly to El Salvador, $400,000. And the Office of La Coordinadora is using that money to build homes or to repair homes. That is the purpose of the money. Well, this time it will be hard for us because friends who have been contributing to us with general funds, when I ask them for money, they send a check for reconstruction. So I cannot touch that money. And very soon we will be in a bad situation that we will not have enough funds for our budget here in the state and for the budget in El Salvador. In El Salvador, we provide La Coordinadora with $100,000. And I doubt that we will be able to give that amount to them. Because, of course, there is a check that says that is for homes. I cannot say, well, it will be for homes, but we need to take a portion. We can't. That is against the law, against ethics. Yeah. But certainly we are using the funds in the best way. Yeah. And we see that. We see the reconstruction. I have been in El Salvador this year, 3 months in El Salvador and 1 in the States. So I see what is happening. Yeah. In Agriculture too. Yeah. What we need to reconstruct the country is $4 billion. Yeah, $4 billion. That's a lot. Yeah. But we need to reconstruct our region to go back, to the previous situation before the earthquake is $4 million. So we have been able to raise $400,000. Yeah. 1/10 of what is needed. Yeah. Okay.
Consequences.
In January 13, the first one, that was 7.9 in the Richter scale. Then there was a second one, February 13, that destroyed the center region of the country. And a third one, that was 5.7, and that was February 19. And after that, we have had some tremors that are 5.3, 5.4, 4.4, or 3.4. Yeah.
Can I give you guys a donut? What do I do?
Guessing it'd be the first day project. You're in charge of it.
Let me see, what do you see?
I believe it is the first day project.
Which one is it?
First day.
It's the, oops, sorry, Foundation for Self-Sufficiency. Is the name of it. Okay. And I like it one of the shirts too. Is that a little something? Yeah.
They're downstairs. You moved them in.
She came to me and she said, well, in the middle middle of the night, I wake up and I look everywhere and I think that I am not in Rio Rotan, that I am elsewhere, I do not know where. And then I said to myself, this is my house. And then I said, no, it can't be. This is not my house. Then I tried, to touch myself. No, this is my house. And then I go back to sleep. Oh, it is beautiful. They are very, very happy. We were afraid, because they are round houses, that they will not be culturally accepted by our people. Because what we have is the common thing, the square homes or rectangular homes. No. They are very, very happy. They sleep. The children, for example, that is something else. The children sleep until 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock. If nobody takes care of them, they are sleeping. Yeah. So it's beautiful.
Are they not hot? They look like, with no windows, you'd think they'd be pretty hot.
We are putting windows.
Uh-huh.
The windows for the house. They are brand new, so we have not finished them. They completely finished them. Yeah, but we are putting two. There are 2 homes that have windows now. And very soon, in a week, every house will have windows. That is necessary. Yeah.
I love the colors that they were picking.
That, the colors were decided by the family themselves.
I wondered.
Yeah, and the colors were decided mainly by women. And they painted the house, not the men. The men were building the house. The women, they wanted, the first time that they get a roll, how do you say the roll?
Roller.
Yeah, roller. And paint such a cup. You see that in the picture, you see that women are painting. Yeah, they love that. And something that as I know them very well now, because I have been in that community for more than 15 days, living with them, is that you can see the color of the house and the way how this woman behaves. Her emotions and psychology, there is some kind of relation with the color. Yeah, with the color. Yeah, it's good. Okay. Well, thank you then. Okay, great.